Blood soaked through the pale fabric of Rose Mallister's torn dress before she even understood she was bleeding. She didn't feel the sun on her skin or the sand grinding into her knees. All she felt was terror, sharp, breathless, pulsing terror that clung to her ribs as tightly as the bruises on her waist. Only an hour earlier, her father had shoved her out of the house. His eyes were glassy with drink, his breath thick with whiskey. He'd screamed that she was the last thing he had left to trade. Screamed that if she didn't marry Caleb Price today, he would lose the farm, the roof, the land he planned to be buried under. She had begged him to stop. He hit her hard enough that the crack echoed in the empty yard. So she ran. She snatched the small kitchen knife from the counter, nothing but a sliver of protection, and sprinted barefoot across the fields. Her half-buttoned dress flapped against her trembling legs. Every breath felt like swallowing hot air. When she tried to leap a narrow ditch, her right foot landed wrong. A sharp pop shot up her calf and her ankle folded under her. She screamed, but the wind swallowed the sound. Still, she crawled because she had heard Caleb's men shouting earlier. She knew what they would do if they caught her. Fear, it seemed, could push a body farther than hope ever could. A wooden fence appeared ahead, wavering through her blurred vision. She staggered toward it, reaching for that last scrap of salvation. Her fingers found the top rail, but a rusted nail snagged her dress, ripping cloth and skin in a single painful tear. Hot blood slid down her hip. She tumbled to the other side of the fence and collapsed. She managed one desperate look toward the ranch beyond the gate, a small house, a leaning barn, fields quiet in the heat. If she reached it, someone might help her. Someone might hear her before Caleb's men did. She dragged herself across the dirt. Her dress clung to her skin. Her ankle throbbed. Her waist burned. And then, at the gate, her body simply quit. She fell face first into warm dust as the world dimmed at the edges. A tall, broad-shouldered shape stepped into the sunlight. A hat shadowed his face. She whispered one last broken plea. "Please." The stranger knelt. Rough hands lifted her, warm, steady, nothing like the cruel hands that had hurt her before. And with that single choice, the story of both their lives began to change. Rose woke to the feeling of wood beneath her back and sunlight on her face. She blinked until the room steadied. She was lying on a long table inside a ranch house. And standing over her was a man broad as a barn door, his shadow stretching across her body. She tried to sit, but pain shot up her ankle and dragged her down again. The man placed a calloused hand near her shoulder, gentle, firm, steady. "Just lie still, please." His voice was low and calm, like someone who had weathered storms and outlived every one of them. His face was rugged, beard trimmed short. The lines near his eyes looked carved by long days beneath the Kansas sun. He seemed like a man shaped by the land, strong, solitary, and not in the habit of letting strangers into his home. Then he said, quietly, "Show me your foot." Her cheeks warmed. She had never been spoken to like that, not while lying half-conscious on a stranger's table. But her ankle throbbed too fiercely for modesty. He lifted the hem of her dress just enough to see the swelling. He pressed gently against the bone. She flinched. "Not broken," he murmured. "Just twisted bad." He reached toward the cut at her waist. Instinct flared hot. Rose jolted upright, grabbed the small knife hidden in her dress, and aimed it at his chest. The man caught her wrist effortlessly. Not hurting her. Just stopping her. "Did Caleb send you?" she gasped. "Did he send you to take me back? I'd rather die than go with him." The man didn't move. Didn't blink. He simply raised his hands, palms open. "If I meant to hurt you, you wouldn't be lying on my table. Now put the knife down so I can keep you from bleeding out." Something in his eyes, steady, deep, almost sorrowful, made her hesitate. She lowered the blade. He cleaned the wound with a damp cloth. The sting burned, but his hands never wavered. And in the quiet, Rose felt something unspoken settle between them. She also sensed he carried a past as heavy as any burden she'd ever known. Later, he sat near her, arms folded, boots creaking in the dust. "You got someone chasing you?" he asked. She told him everything, her father's debts, the beatings, Caleb Price's cold smile, the forced marriage she fled. Elias listened, jaw tight. Before he could respond, hooves sounded in the yard. A neighbor, Hank, rode in, dust clinging to his coat. He spotted Rose, and his expression darkened. "Caleb's got men sniffing around town for a girl in a torn dress," Hank warned. "The kind of men who brag about what they do when they think nobody's watching." Rose's stomach knotted. Hank's eyes shifted to Elias. "You sure you want this mess, son? A man with your history usually avoids attention." Rose froze. "Your history?" she asked. But the silence from both men was answer enough. Whatever Elias Boone had been before today, it was something fearsome. Moments after Hank rode off, 2 hired guns arrived. Rough men with cheap pistols. They searched the barn. When one came too close to Rose's hiding place, Elias appeared in the doorway. "You lost something?" he asked, voice cool as ice. The man barely turned before Elias slammed him against a beam. The second rider reached for his pistol, but Elias fired a perfect warning shot that sliced the brim off the man's hat. The riders scrambled away, shouting, "Caleb will hear about this." Elias didn't flinch. Rose saw then that this quiet rancher was far more dangerous than he appeared. Not long after, Caleb Price himself rode in with 3 armed men. His clean suit and smug smile told Rose everything she needed to know. "Bring the girl out," he ordered. "She's my claim." "She's not a claim," Elias replied. "She's under my roof now." Caleb sneered, until recognition dawned. Elias Boone. The name tightened Caleb's throat. A man whispered about in cattle towns. A man hired by railroad bosses to settle feuds nobody else dared touch. A man once called Black Hand Boone, who made the double-cross gang disappear in the winter of '79. Caleb's confidence drained. Elias lifted his rifle, letting sunlight run down the barrel. A single shot hit the dirt at Caleb's horse's feet. The animal reared. Caleb nearly toppled. Fear washed through the men behind him. "Keep her then," Caleb rasped, retreating. When the dust settled, Elias turned to Rose, his voice softer now. "You're safe here. No one's taking you again." For the first time since she fled home, Rose believed those words. "People feared my past for years," Elias said quietly. "Funny thing is, today it kept you alive." He looked at her like he hadn't looked at another soul in a long time. And Rose realized something simple but powerful. Maybe this man wasn't just a rescuer. Maybe he was the beginning of something she never thought she'd find.